Now the current day British West Indies or Bahamas, the Azores, the Canary Islands are described as remnants of Atlantis. Now Greek philosopher Plato, writing around 2,370 years ago, described the kingdom of Atlantis. He wrote, "Atlantis was an island opposite the strait which you call the Pillars of Hercules, an island larger than Libya and Asia combined. From it, travelers could, in those days, reach the other islands, and from them the whole opposite continent, meaning the Americas, which surrounds what can truly be called the ocean." Now, modern scientists have mapped the Atlantic Ocean, and they found no remnants of a lost continent. But they do have, their encyclopedias do say that there's a continental element in the land there. But now modern geophysicists and meteorologists state that the landmass of Antarctica, which is down here, was positioned some 2,000 miles into the Atlantic Ocean, up around here. And it moved to its present position as a result of a massive displacement of the Earth's crust when the poles shifted around 14 to 13,000 years ago. Now, Casey indicates that all of this, including Atlantis, all of this here, all of this, including Antarctica, was Atlantis, that it was a huge place. The Canary Islands, previously part of the continent of Atlantis, currently lie about 60 miles. Where's Morocco? Here's the Canary Islands, right here. They currently lie about 60 miles west of the African coast, opposite the extreme south of Morocco. Now, they are rugged, and they have a lot of mountains, and Casey stated that the kingdom of Atlantis was founded 212,000 years ago. Now, the encyclopedia passages state that a short, brunette, long-headed Mediterranean-type people of African descent settled the Canary Islands 200,000 years ago, which is pretty close to what Casey said, 200,000, 212. Okay, they were said to come from mainland Africa, south of Morocco, and they brought with them the basic cultural elements common to all the islands. Now, Homo sapiens evolved around 400,000 years ago. About 188,000 years later, or around 212,000 years ago, they founded the kingdom of Atlantis. We can't even imagine what 188,000 years is like. People here think the United States is old, and it's not even, it's not 300 years old. So just imagine that difference in time. Okay, now the people of Atlantis worshiped the sun god, and the right arm swastika was their symbol. Now, the most universally practiced worship on earth has been that of the sun god, whose symbol, the swastika, has always been a sacred sign and known as the wheeling cross or wheel of the law. It represents the sun when its hands point to the right or in its westward orbit, and symbol of the Earth's revolution in easterly direction when the hands point to the left. So when they're pointing to the right, it represents the westward movement. When they're pointing to the left, it represents the eastward movement. So they're polar opposites. Now, Casey was asked to describe the people who made up the first kingdom of Atlantis, and he said that they were located in many places, and they had forms as to, they were going to become man, but he says you could hardly call them man at that time. They weren't yet evolved. Now, Seth said the speakers established codes of ethics. Speakers were teachers who communicated knowledge of creation. They originated from the time of Atlantis. Before that, these codes were given by a race from another star. This race had to do with the origin of Atlantis. The messages were put into words and language and written down at the time of Atlantis but after that they were handed down by word of mouth. Now, in order to teach these evolving people around them, the people of Atlantis wanted them to be able to establish manual dexterity. They wanted them to be able to focus their attention on what they were doing. They were trying to develop their minds and their bodies. They wanted them to grow. So what they did, they taught tool-making skills. Now in India, the Punjab Soan Valley is right near where the Ramapithecus colony. It's about 500 miles away from the old Siwalik Hills colony. Now, people from Atlantis, they merged with the people of Soan Valley, and the people in Soan Valley began to prepare carefully prepared blocks of, I don't know what quartzite and trap are, but they did it. And their cleavers, hand axes, and boulder stones became more finely proportioned. Now, Homo sapiens, people from Atlantis, occupied coastal caves in Wales around 200,000 years ago, and they merged and taught with Swanscone tribes of Kent, England. Now, Swanscone tribes were the first known users of flint for tool making. And modern archaeologists state that tool-making techniques like those used in the Soan Valley appeared in Africa, Western Europe, the Indian Peninsula, and Ceylon, where the Madras culture developed. Archaeologists state that during the interglacial warming between 250,000 and 195,000 years ago, tool-making techniques of Homo sapiens and H. sapiens covered more than half the humanly inhabited world. They express amazement over the fact that tools made in Kent, England during the interglacial warming were identical to those made in Soan Valley, India. Hand axes found in London, Jerusalem, Cape Town, and Madras, India are indistinguishable from each other because of Homo sapiens from Atlantis.